Hello there. Welcome to Healthy Cooking with your friendly Italians. I'm Jim Barrow.
And I'm Marilyn Barrow.
And the last time we left you, we are on our trip to the Northwest. This almost sounds like a soap opera. And we're going to continue on our trip.
We had such a good time. Yeah. We're going to tell you more.
And we can't get over the beauty of this place, and great wines, great beers, wonderful food.
Great cheeses. Lots of different attractions. We got some recipes, some different kinds of recipes for you, using some of the products from that area. And after looking through the cookbooks, we realized, and looking for recipes, we realized what similarities there really is in the products of both the Northwest and
really
our area.
Yes, right. And we're going to be talking about that.
Right.
And we're going to have a recipe for what they call Basque potatoes. And there's a reason why I'm calling it Basque. We're going to do a chutney. We're going to do a salad with apples and celery. And we're going to do what I'm calling mushroom mojo. And I'll explain that to you. So let's talk a little bit before we get into the recipes about the wonderful, wonderful mountains that are in Oregon and in Washington.
The state of Washington, yes.
Every time you go outside, you look out, and there's these beautiful white snow-capped mountains. Rainier, which is in the state of Washington, is the tallest, was 14,000. Then you have Mount Adams, which again is in Washington at 12,000. Then Mount Hood in Oregon, and Baker, and they're all absolutely
beautiful. And Mount
beautiful.
St. Helens.
Well, Mount St. Helens used to be a really big mountain, but then the top blew off of it.
Right.
You can actually go there, and they have these caves that are lined with the obsidian lava, and you can walk in a very shiny type of stuff, very dark. It's very interesting. Then you also, Marilyn, not only do you have all these wonderful mountains, then you have Crater Lake, which this blue, clear water.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's very deep.
But when you fly into the Portland airport, you can see all these mountains.
Yes, you
which
can.
It really is. It's a spectacular view.
Right. What a welcoming.
If you are next to the window and have a view these days, but
yeah, and you don't have your teeth in your knees together. Ah, well, anything for our family. And you know, then you go up in the state of Washington, and the National Park, the Glacier National Park is fantastic. Wonderful falls all over. There's a falls out there that reminds me of Teganic Falls here, and the ocean and the Columbia River that goes out to the Pacific Ocean, and the dunes and the Rogue River, and on and on and on it goes. Absolutely a wonderful, wonderful area, and I recommend that you try that. If you get a chance to go on out there. Let's give them a recipe, Marilyn.
All right. So your first recipe is dealing with this,
Mojo.
Your mushroom mojo. And why are you calling this mojo?
Because I couldn't think of another word.
Oh, all right. That sounds good enough for me. Okay.
But they're noted mostly in the up near the Hood River of going out and finding wild mushrooms, and they take the dogs out. The dogs find them.
And there's another similarity because they're doing a lot of mushrooming, particularly around the Catskills area.
That's right.
And then in Albany and going up into the other mountains, but particularly in the Catskills, it's becoming quite an experience to go mushrooming.
And what we're doing here, this is an accompaniment, a mushroom sauce, if you will, that you can serve with steak, with chicken, with pork, all kinds of wonderful things. And it's very, very rich tasting and hearty. And as I say, I'm using the word mojo. I don't have any idea why I'm using the word mojo, but that's what I'm using. And it's an easy thing to make, as most of our recipes are. We're going to take some mushrooms, and you can buy the little small
brown mushrooms, or what they call cremini mushrooms.
Yes, those are very good, and those are really just small portobellos, really, is what they are.
They use different ones out there, but our pocketbooks are not big enough to get those.
Right.
And we're going to cut those into the mushrooms into quarters or small pieces, and we're going to in a large pot. We're going to put the mushrooms in. We're going to put some vinegar in there.
Apple cider
vinegar, some beef broth, some vegetable broth. If you don't want to use two different kinds of broth, you can.
But
you can do
the
that.
vinegar and the broth really makes a really rich flavor.
And I can't cook without garlic. You got to have some garlic in there, and some red pepper flakes. And you're going to cook that in a bay leaf and salt and pepper. And you're going to cook that and then let it cool. Remove the bay leaf, drain it, reserve the liquid, and take the mushrooms. 1 cup of the mushrooms. You'll have more than that, but take 1 cup of those mushrooms, and puree it with 1.5 cups of the liquid, the poaching liquid, and then whisk in some olive oil. Put it in an airtight container, and taste it to see if you need any more salt in it, and refrigerate it, and that'll last for at least a month.
Right.
And
you put the other chopped mushrooms back in it after you make the sauce.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got some little quarters of mushrooms, then you got the pureed mushrooms.
So it gives it a little texture.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's an interesting recipe, mostly with the ability to get some great fresh mushrooms and do them. So if you're a mushroom eater and you want a little mushroom,
and this is certainly mushroom season. This is when you should be finding or buying the fresh mushrooms, or go look for them.
Yeah, but you got to be careful.
Yes, you do.
Because you don't know, if you don't know what you're doing, you could get some mushrooms
but
and you could die.
But there are people that know. You can go learn all this.
Could.
I don't think so. For you and I don't think so. But Mark and Carrie go. Our son and daughter-in-law go. Right. So.
All right. But, Marilyn, as you were saying, how much that area reminds us of the wonderful Finger Lakes that we have the wines, the white wines that we have in this area, a lot of different wines.
Very similar.
Yeah. The lakes, the wonderful fruit. We have the pears and the apples.
And they certainly do.
Yep. And it's just an area. Marilyn, last weekend when we traveled around and we went out to one of the wineries, the roads are packed with people.
Oh, my goodness. The people that are coming to our area. Well, I think that I Love New York campaign certainly helped to make people realize what a wonderful area we have. And we're getting to be known, and there's more and more wineries, so that brings us notoriety. And certainly the fact that we're the birthplace of women's rights and all that information,
sure helps,
and both the National Park and the Women's Hall of Fame, all that is bringing people to there. And we have such pristine lakes.
Right.
And I'm sure...
I think we made it. We're there, baby.
We are. It's, a long time ago in '98 when we had that big celebration. It was called Wine, Women, and Water. Well, that's what we have.
Wine, Women, and Song, I thought it was.
No. All the posters were Wine, Women, and Water. And now we're adding beer. We're adding the microbreweries.
And out there,
that was a big thing there.
Lots of microbreweries. They have a beer that actually they serve at the hotel called Full Sail, Fullsail, which is from the state of Oregon, which is wonderful. There's also a Widmer's beer, which again is just a microbrewery, if you will, a big microbrewery.
That's a big one, and that's where Matt had an internship, our son, when he was in grad school between his 2 years. So we became familiar with that.
And if you ever find Rogue River beer, get it. It's absolutely wonderful.
And we took a trip through there a couple of years ago. We took a tour, Jim, if you remember.
Yes, we did.
We went with our son and our grandson, and it was really fun.
Yeah. And again, like we have here, we have distilleries here.
Right. We have what they call creameries out there, which is actually making cheese.
Yes.
And we are getting involved in that. There's an area throughout the Finger Lakes now that
haven't they started a cheese trail now?
Cheese trail.
Yeah, they
right.
called it a wine. We've always had the wine trail, but this year I think they've come up with a cheese trail.
Yeah. So there's a lot of similarities about it. They're a little bit farther ahead that we are, but we're getting there. Like right now, we have 130 some odd wineries in the areas. There are about 300 little small types of wineries. And then if you go into the state of Washington, you have other great wineries out there. The ones along near Seattle.
Yes.
San Michel.
Yes.
With a Sauvignon Blancs. And then you go over to Walla Walla. I love that name, Walla Walla.
You like Walla Walla, okay.
Walla Walla. They have wines out there, so I can't say enough good things about this place. This is really a great place. So let's give another recipe, Marilyn.
All right, what are we doing now?
Well, they have wonderful apples out there.
And
Marilyn,
this is apple season here, so this would be a wonderful salad to make.
Yeah. Marilyn says we have better apples here.
I think they are.
She's an apple eater more so than I am. But this
I think the apples
nice,
actually
crunchy,
do taste
crisp,
better here.
Type of apples. If you were going to use, for this recipe, the apples we would use for this would be a crisp. They have an autumn crisp at Cider's. They have two or different types of ginger crisp, I think is another one. I would use that type of an apple for this salad. And we're going to mix that with either celery that is going to be cut up, or celery root. If you want something that is a little smoother and not as stringy, celery root is a wonderful stuff that you're going to chop up. And you're going to make a dressing out of some Dijon mustard and some lemon juice and some apple cider vinegar and some salt and pepper and some olive oil. That's it. Then you're going to slice into matchsticks the celery root or the celery and the apple. You're going to add to that some parsley, some toasted and chopped up walnuts. Now, if you were out on the west, they would use hazelnuts, and you can get those. You can use those. There's toasted hazelnuts are good in it too. And you're going to whisk that together. And just fold everything in, and then serve it in a plate.
And then you can put some Parmesan, curls of Parmesan, shavings of Parmesan over the top after you've plated it.
Yeah, one thing, with Parmesan cheese, if you take a carrot slicer to take off
a potato peeler,
right?
Basically, is what you're looking for.
And just take your Parmesan and just go across the
it's
cheese.
Like shavings. It's
and
like curls.
They curls up.
Yes.
And they really helps out. A nice presentation to it too. Let's also talk about another region, Marilyn, that we have gone to in the past, which is in Washington, and over into Seattle. Seattle's a great.
Seattle's a beautiful place.
And you can leave Seattle and go on out to the San Juan Islands.
Right.
You can go over to a place which we went to and spent a couple of days, Port Townsend.
Yes.
Which is right at the border of the water that takes you over to Victoria.
And then you can get over to Victoria, Canada, which is beautiful.
And you can go on up above that to Bellingham, and this is where you can catch a ferry that goes to Alaska. And they also have boats that go out, and you can commune with the whales.
Well, we went on a whaling sighting boat once, which was really fun. And they're orca whales, were they?
Yeah,
I think
the
they were.
Whales.
For some reason, I don't know, they played music, and we had these whales came up, and the sound of them, they were absolutely incredible. They came right up to the boat.
Well, the captain took the sounds from the whales and recorded it, and then put it underwater, and it brought in the whales.
It did.
And they would jump up in front of the boat. It
was a beautiful, beautiful sight to see them. They're absolutely, incredible animals when you see them, and when you see them come out of the water, it really is happening.
Yeah.
And the San Juan Islands are magnificent. And if then you can go on the intercoastal along where the San Juan Islands are, almost up to up halfway up to Alaska. Just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful area. So you might want to try that if you get up there, and you can go up into Vancouver.
Right, Vancouver's lovely.
Or Victoria.
British Columbia. We took the boat to both Victoria. Then we spent some time in
we rented a house
in Victoria. But we also spent some time in Vancouver, British Columbia. And that's a very interesting city in the fact that many of the people from Hong Kong, when they realized that China was going to take over Hong Kong, a huge amount of people from Hong Kong settled in Vancouver, Canada.
Largest.
So you have this whole influence of Asian food, and it's certainly changed the whole way that Vancouver was before. It's absolutely beautiful.
And then you can also get a cruise ship to go on up to Alaska from
Certainly.
there. So that's another great spot. Marilyn, I don't know. We're gonna have to go back there very shortly.
I think so.
Right.
Maybe Matt will finally convince you to move out there.
Maybe. But I love Seneca Falls. Let's give a recipe for chutney.
All right.
We're gonna take some pears, the wonderful pears that we have available here, and we're gonna make a chutney. Now, what do you do with a chutney? Chutney is an accompaniment of a. If you're gonna grill some chicken, for example,
yes,
you could use it on there, or if you're having any type of curry, it's wonderful with curries.
And you're using pears that you can find at the farmers market. There's red peppers. It's all farm to table. It's all what's available right now at this time of the year.
Another great way of using it, use it if you're going to grill a pork tenderloin on the grill.
It's very good with that.
And you just slice that and put some. It's got a. And again, you're going to put this in a jar and you're going to put it in the refrigerator, and it'll last for at least a month. So we're going to take some Bartlett pears, or if you would prefer a pear that is a little stronger in texture, you can use a Bosc pear.
Right.
And you can core it, peel it, cut it up into cubes, and then take red bell peppers, seed it, and chop it, and some lemons that you seeded and diced. And when I say that, you leave the skin on the lemons. We're going to take the seeds out, and we're going to chop it real fine. That's going to give it a nice tart flavor. And we're going to take
But you got sugar that will sweeten it up a little bit. Yeah,
we'll take some brown sugar. We're going to put this, and we're going to heat this all together. Dried currants, apple cider, some
fresh ginger.
Yeah, wonderful fresh ginger. Everything's got to have garlic. It's got garlic, of course. Salt, cayenne pepper, and simmer that for an hour. And what's going to happen? You're not going to put the cover on it. It's going to thicken up.
Yes, it does. It thickens up.
And here's something else that can go in the refrigerator. So we're doing a lot of accompaniment so that it'll stand for a long time. So let's also talk about some of the other areas that probably people aren't aware of in Oregon. Warm springs. We spent. This is up in the high desert.
This is up in the high desert, which that's the amazing part about both Oregon and Washington State is that there's such diverse topography of what's there and where you can go.
Then you have the dells, which is in the eastern part of the state too, and they have tree farms. They're growing just miles after miles of tree farms, and then you can go over into right at the where it goes borders up to Idaho. You can go to Pendleton, which is cowboy country.
Right.
And out in that area is Black Butte, which is a great area to go and spend some time out there. And then you can go to Bend, go skiing in Bend.
Right.
You can go down to the dunes on the coast. If you want to go, you want some Shakespeare. Ashland has a Shakespeare festival.
They do.
You know, they should hire us.
They might.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but that's all right.
All right, I promised you Basque potatoes.
Now, yes, and it's a honey paprika potato Basque style. So that sounds pretty good.
And the reason why it's called Basque style, it seems for some reason in both Oregon and in California, a lot of people from the Basque area. The Basque area is the northern part of Spain up where it goes into the French Alps area. So it's the combination. Their cuisine is kind of a combination of two. Wonderful, wonderful cuisine. And they use this wonderful smoked Spanish
paprika. The smoked paprika. It's a little bit different than the regular paprika, the smoked paprika. It's a little bit more intense in flavor.
And this is sort of a yin and yang type of thing. You're going to have the smokiness of the paprika, and then you're going to use something to sweeten it with some honey.
Little honey.
So we're going to take red potatoes, right? And what I like red potatoes. They're nice, waxy type of potato, and we don't have to peel the skin.
Just make sure you scrub them very well.
Yep, and cut them into half an inch pieces. Okay, and then we're going to take them and we're going to mix them with some rosemary and salt and pepper, fresh rosemary. Put it in the oven for about 30 minutes at 400 degrees. Then take that out, mix some honey and some garlic powder and some oregano and this wonderful, wonderful smoked paprika, and mix that up with the roast peppers. And here's something very unique. You're going to take ricotta, and you're going to put that on a bed of ricotta. Isn't this nice? Got the bed of white ricotta on the bottom, and these beautiful, beautiful potatoes with this red paprika on it. Sprinkle it with a little parsley, and olé, you have honey paprika Basque style.
Well, you do.
And you should try that. So one last area that we need to cover, one of our favorite cities in the United States, and that's Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
We've had a chance to spend quite a bit of time
out there.
We have.
The food there is incredible.
And they have, tell them about the Rose Gardens.
Well, the Rose Garden were originally the New York Rose Gardens. They moved the whole company out there. And so the Rose Gardens are sort of up a hill overlooking downtown Portland, which is absolutely beautiful. In the same area, it's a big park. They also have a Japanese garden.
And a zoo?
And a zoo. And it's all in this area. But if you ever get to Portland, you do have to go visit the Rose Gardens. And most of them are the original Newark varieties of roses when the company was here. So that's a beautiful thing to do.
And then they have 5 bridges going across I'm going to say it wrong again, Willamette River. And under one of these, the Steel Bridge, they have the Saturday morning.
They have a market.
Market that is
open air. Basically most all year round with all kinds of crafts and all kinds of things.
And on every single corner in Portland, there is at least 2 to 3 coffee shops.
They have even little kiosks in most of the parking lots that you can drive up and get a cup of really strong coffee. Now, they love their strong coffee. Seattle
and it's good.
Coffee, there's Pete's Coffee, there's Tully's Coffee, there's all kinds of companies. But most of it is very, very strong. Yeah. And they love their coffee, and they drink a lot of coffee.
Only thing they love more than their coffee is the ducks. Now, not the ducks that you think of. We're talking about the Oregon football ducks. I have a hat with the Oregon Ducks on, and every time I go by anybody, they're saying "Go Ducks, go Ducks" all the time. But it's quite a spot.
And you see, when you get there, they've marijuana is sort of, you can get it.
Well, I think you can. Is it the state of Washington? I think you can now. I think it's legal.
And you can see a lot of the people getting stopped for drunken driving is down. But on the other hand, there's more people out there that sort of are walking the streets sort of funny like. But
be interesting to see how that all turns out, because it's relatively new.
Yep. So one other thing I want to tell you about Oregon, wonderful restaurants in Oregon. But there's one that is really different called Simpatica Dining Hall. And it was a music club with this very, very large, spacious area. And they put these long tables in. And they're open for dinner Friday and Saturday night. You sit at communal tables.
Right.
And Sunday brunch. And it's one sitting.
Well, yes, and they'll serve you what they've made, basically.
Yeah, and again, farm to table type of stuff. And if you ever get out there, you try it. It's called Simpatica Dining Hall. You should try that. So, well, Marilyn, we got
through that.
We got that,
and we want to encourage you to go to the farmers market. We're getting close to the end, I'm sure. I think they're going to be around for the month of October, but you're beginning to get Indian corn and gourds and pumpkins and all the fall wonderful, wonderful things.
Still, and red peppers and green peppers. And next week, on the 8th, they're going to be celebrating Cider Week in the Finger Lakes. And so the people that make hard cider are coming, and Three Brothers Winery is coming. And they're going to have some hard ciders creations, plus sweet ciders. So that's something you might want to put on your calendar, and you'll enjoy that. So, Marilyn, this has been fun. Next week.
Well, it's in 2 weeks.
Well, our next time we get together.
We're going to be in New York for a while.
I found my mother's cookbook. It's not a cookbook. Her handwritten.
These are her old recipes.
These are back from the 30s and 40s. And, of course, as you well might imagine, they're all Italian. So we thought we would go and do some old Italian recipes.
We've been finding a lot of old cookbooks.
Yes.
Sue brought us some of George's grandmother's. We've got Elsie's cookbook. So we're going to go back and check on how people ate in the early 1900s to the beginning of the 1900s into the mid, and discuss some of the food, and maybe we'll correct some of them or encourage you to make them or make some changes.
And my mother was born and raised in Geneva, New York, and her name was Del Papa, and her father was the first Italian that came in to Geneva, and became the patron of the Geneva people, the Geneva Italians. And I've got some interesting stories about him, the mafia, the
Black Hand,
and Torrey Park, and we're going to intermingle some of that with some of the recipes. So that should be very interesting. So we'll see you then. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Ciao.